And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Tuesday evening. We told you guys it was going to be apocalyptically slow during this period between Christmas and New Year's, and boy, has it been. Certainly hasn't been any news to really report. We're finally getting a couple of small signings here and there. The majority of this activity will kick off once New Year's is finally in the books, especially the top end guys. But we'll start tonight with the markets for Imai, the starting pitcher, and Okamoto, the middle infielder. Both players have deadlines coming up this weekend where they will have to decide where they will sign and get that deal done and signed on paper by 5 p.m. on Friday for Imai, and for Okamoto 5 p.m. on Sunday. We should see some activity on both players very, very quickly. Now remember how the last deal came through just a week or so ago for Murakami. We told you guys that his market ended on Monday. We got news coming out late Friday night that he had made his decision where he was going to sign in the contract terms. The deal ultimately didn't get signed until a couple of days later, until right before the deadline. Expect something similar with both of these players. Now, if Imai is going to sign, has to get the deal done by Friday, that would tell us today is what, Tuesday? We're probably going to know late Wednesday, probably early Thursday morning at the latest, where Imai is going to sign. Both players are now in Los Angeles. Both are clients of Scott Boras and taking in-person interviews with those teams that are interested. We'll touch on a few of those teams in just a moment, but their markets are going to develop rather quickly. Okamoto, if you're kind of following that same timeline, by the deadline on Friday for Imai, we'll probably have a good indication where Okamoto is going to go to. Worst case scenario, probably early Saturday morning as well. But both of these players should be getting their deals fairly quickly. Should be a fairly active kind of free agency over the next couple of days in that regard. Now, as far as the top end talent that's still out there, those guys are still going to wait until after New Year's. We're talking Tucker, Bellinger, Bichette, Valdez, Bregman. All those guys are going to take a little bit of time here. I would not expect it to take too much longer, though, especially on Kyle Tucker. I think once these deals get done with those international free agents, I think that's going to be the next domino that really is going to fall. I don't think this is going to take another couple of weeks here for Tucker. As far as Bellinger, maybe a week thereafter. Bregman, I don't think it's going to take this until spring training. I think he wants to get a deal in sooner rather than later. A couple of articles over the last couple of days basically indicating how teams are lukewarm once again on Alex Bregman. Sounds like they're trying to play a little bit of poker here with Alex Bregman, seeing how he kind of had to fold and go with the higher average annual value from the Boston Red Sox on a shorter term deal. Maybe they're trying to get him to sign a deal very similar to that again. We shall see. But that's kind of where things are at for Bregman. The last guy is Bo Bichette. I think just like a few years back when we saw Trevor Story as the last man standing, he's going to be the one left to figure out which team has the most money left for him to sign for, and he'll take that deal, whatever it may be. But welcome in Ethan. Nando, appreciate you guys joining us once again. AD to the Hawks seems done. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking that way myself. As far as done, might be a little bit of a strong statement, but I do think the Hawks are head and shoulders above all the other teams as far as suitors for Anthony Davis right now. Am I confident that they're going to trade him? Honestly, I do think they're going to trade him more likely than not. I wouldn't say it's going to happen 100%, but more like 80-20 Anthony Davis finishes the season in another team's uniform. You're pumped the Mavs would have back-to-back picks. Remember that Pelicans pick that could be coming from the Atlanta Hawks may not be number one overall. Lottery odds, you never really know. We're getting into kind of the tanking issues that all major professional sports leagues have to face. Specifically, we'll touch on the NFL and the NBA tanking issues. All the names being talked about makes me think the deal is close. As far as the names being thrown out there, I would agree that's kind of why I think the Hawks are the closest to getting a deal done there. Nando, Imai for sure going to the Yankees. Glad you mentioned the Yankees. The teams, we mentioned that there's going to be a few teams in on here. We talked about the Cubs and Yankees being considered the favorites, although there were several teams still in the mix. I still consider those two teams as kind of a leg up on the other competition, but some of the teams we've heard in connection with Imai so far this offseason. 1, the Yankees. 2, Mets. Cubs, Phillies, Orioles as well. Those are all the publicly known teams. Now, I'm sure there's a good handful of other teams that we have no clue about that choose to move about in silence, i.e. the Texas Rangers, who are looking for a starting pitcher. Although it looks like the Rangers might just end up standing pat. We'll get into that one here in just a moment. Might be a big disappointment coming for Texas Rangers fans. But as far as Imai, to me, he could be one of the most dominant pitchers in the game if everything breaks right for him. I'm excited to see what he's got when he comes over to the big leagues. Baseball America posted a article where they expected him to be a borderline top 30 starting pitcher entering this season. In case you guys are wondering, that's ace level quality they're expecting from him. Now, if you're a team in need of starting pitching and you got an ace out there for anybody to go out there and try to add, why wouldn't you be in on his market? Now, of course, dollars are a big factor. International free agents are a factor as well. How much is he really going to, or how is he going to adapt to the big league game? All of those things kind of come into effect here. But if they're expecting him to be a top 30 player and he's an ace, and he turns out to be that, you could certainly have yourself a bargain if you can get the right deal. Now, the teams that we mentioned as far as in on Imai, like I said, I don't think that's going to be the entirety of them. I think there are several other teams in need of starting pitching. They're at least going to knock down the door of Imai until they are told no. Remember, his market has to conclude 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night. So be sure to hit that like, subscribe. I'm expecting to get some news probably late tomorrow, early Thursday. But over the New Year's break anyway, we should get a indication where he is ultimately going to sign. Caleb, welcome in. Joseph, welcome back as well. Evening all, hoping the Jays sign Tucker soon. Again, I'm expecting that one after New Year's Day, but that would be the team I would look out for as well. I'm saying Ricochet and Cooper Flag and Mavs would have back-to-back for... Oh, okay. Well, I would say as far as Ricochet goes, to me he's no more than a... He's not a great starter by any chance, or by any means anyway, but I would say he's probably more of a bench piece when it's all said and done. If he can develop an outside shot, he certainly would be a lot better than he is now. But his numbers and his shooting kind of leave a little bit to be desired. He's not consistent with it yet, which also gives you the indication that he can get better. But Flag is certainly the apple of the eye there. Ricochet is a nice piece to throw in there, but it would be all about the draft pick as far as I'm concerned in a trade with the Hawks and the salary that you're saving. Sure, you get underneath the the tax and all those kinds of things, but it's more about getting underneath certain aprons and then even being able to go and add some talent in the offseason via free agency and just kind of restructure this team around Cooper instead of Luka. Joseph, is the looming lockout the reason why major league clubs are holding back transactions? It's a big factor. I'm not going to say it's the only factor. I think teams have kind of been doing this, or at least heading towards this for, since, 2011. The winter meetings with Albert Pujols and company. It just did not go the way teams, I think, were expecting it to. The Prince Fielder deal did not age well. The Pujols deal did not age well. I think teams kind of wised up pretty quickly thereafter that, long-term contracts for first base DH types were not going to be the thing going forward. Now, we've seen that kind of spread through other positions as well, and they've gotten some much better team-friendly contracts over the last 10 years than they had in the last 25 combined. So I would say teams are thinking a lot smarter, but they also think a lot more alike. If you're thinking smart, you're not allowing your emotions to rule yourselves, you're not making deals at 3 a.m. after your owner just came out of a meeting after having a few glasses and just says, hey, I like that star player, I'll take him off your hands because you can't afford him. Beat my chest because I can afford him and I want him to be on my team on opening day and I'm going to sell tickets because of that man right there. Those things matter to owners still, don't get me wrong. They want to beat their chest, they want to show off their new shiny toy to all their rich friends, they want to increase ticket sales and increase the money coming into their pockets. Baseball is treated much more like a business than it ever has been. However, the teams, by the same token, are also treated like a business. If I can do the Moneyball thing with the A's, why do I have to spend this much money, GM, when the A's can do it for the last 15, 20 years, the Rays can do it for the last 15, 20 years on a tenth of the budget that you guys are asking for? So, just something to kind of keep in mind that while the lockout is looming, it's far greater than that. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be a part of those CBA negotiations as far as increasing team spending. We're seeing some small market teams take some bigger short-term contracts in anticipation of the upcoming negotiations to kind of show their willingness to spend and increase their salary floor. You look at the Marlins and their willingness to take on payroll. Same thing for the A's. Pirates adding a little bit of money here. Orioles offering one of the biggest free agent contracts in their history. The Rays have certainly been in on a number of things over recent years. Some of those small market teams are finally starting to spend some money. Padres have been spending above their heads for the last 10 years. Look like they're cutting some payroll here. Rangers were up in the top 10 for the last, 3-4 years since they signed Corey Seager. They're looking like they're trying to get back towards the middle of the pack. But as long as you see those bottom level teams kind of raising their payroll here, I believe that the owners think that they're going to have a better negotiating position when they get to the CBA negotiations. And again, we're likely headed towards a work stoppage. But as far as the lockout impacting these deals, it does have a bit of a factor. I think that's why we're seeing fewer long-term deals being agreed to, and I think that's why players are ultimately agreeing to shorter-term deals so they can lock up their contract and get it done. Now, there's still plenty to do. There's so many free agents still out there. The top-end guys are still going to get paid their money. Just because the lockout's looming does not mean that they're going to ultimately settle for less as a result of it. I just think that they got to be cognizant of it and not let the music stop without them finding a chair. So we'll see what ultimately happens here. All right, John, is Imai still in the pictures for the Yankees or not? I would say 100% yes. I think as far as the players that the Yankees are targeting right now, 1A, 1B, I think we're probably looking in the Tucker, Bellinger, and Imai sweepstakes here. I doubt they're in on Valdez. I've not heard them as a team that has checked in frequently with Framber Valdez this offseason. Imai seems to be their guy that they want this offseason. If they don't add him, I could see them trying to make a run for Ranger Suarez as well. Zach Gallen to a lesser extent. But I know the Yankees certainly haven't done much. The deal for Rosario finally became official. So they at least made a move, but we've been talking about that being really the only move that they've done on the outside. They've lost a couple of bullpen arms. They're looking like they could lose Bellinger to any number of teams out there. He is a sought-after bat this offseason. So once that Tucker deal becomes official, wherever he does sign, my expectation is Toronto. We should see a Bellinger deal probably in the next week thereafter. Maybe Padres replace Darvish with Imai since Imai doesn't look like the Dodgers. Doesn't like the Dodgers. To a certain extent, remember Darvish actually has I think he's got a kid going D1, top prospect in the game as well. So in future years anyway. But as far as Imai goes, could they go after him? Sure. Do I think they have the finances or wherewithal to do so? No. If they could get him for a tenth of what teams are expected to sign him for, I think the Padres would be in there, but I seriously doubt they ultimately win the bidding. I think the teams that we mentioned, the Yankees, the Cubs, I think are still a slightly bigger favorite than all the other teams, though. But the teams that are still said to be in the mix anyway, or at least have been mentioned to be in the mix, are the Mets, the Phillies, and the Orioles as well. But that's not expected to be all the teams that he is still negotiating with as well. Ethan, the 24 NBA draft was bad with Zachary Richichet. Would still go 2 and 3 in that draft. I think he would probably go in the 4-5 range if I had to guess. Lucas Giolito, linked to Texas, seems to be in the market for 2 for $40. Kind of fits that market where Merrill Kelly signed for. Got a news and note on him anyway. The Red Sox are said to be the team he really wants to re-sign with. To me, this seems a lot like the Jordan Montgomery sweepstakes from 2 years ago anyway. And it ultimately did not work out well for the player. He ultimately had to sign elsewhere. I think the Red Sox are looking to improve that infield still. I think they're looking at second base. They found their price for Marte being a little bit high, and so they kind of pivoted and have kind of changed course here a little bit, looking for a guy like Brendan Donovan. Lots of news coming out of Red Sox camp over the last couple of days anyway, that the Red Sox are looking for infield depth. They're also looking for a left-hander out of their bullpen, and they could once again strike it rich with the St. Louis Cardinals and JoJo Romero. That could be the third trade where they take off a little bit of money from the Cardinals, save them some money, and send some prospects going the other way. We might as well start calling the St. Louis Cardinals farm system the Red Sox South. So just something, or at least Red Sox West or something like that. That's how many trades it could end up being, or that it could end up happening between those two clubs this off season. But as far as Giolito to Texas, I could see that one. But around Texas, I just don't see them doing anything big right now. Unless it's something big along the lines of Imai or going after a hitter where they really go big on something. I don't see them doing anything kind of middle of the road. They may add a $10 million starter, and that's about it. $20 million seems a little rich for Giolito, but he certainly had his good days and bad last year. But we'll see. We'll see where he goes. His preference is the Red Sox, and I think he's going to try to wait that one out as long as possible to see if he can ultimately stay there, just like Jordan Montgomery waited as long as possible at the Texas Rangers until he finally just had to say the heck with it. Give me a deal wherever I can, make the money, go from there. Are the Yankees getting Bo? John, I would say that if they miss on Bellinger, the likelihood for a guy like Bregman or Bichette goes up exponentially. I would say the chances of them signing Bichette right now would probably be less than 10-15%. somewhere in that range. I think he's more likely to sign the bigger money from another ball club that we're not expecting, or even from a big money team that just has a lot of payroll to go ahead and add right now and try to take advantage of a player who's being undervalued on the market, like Bo Bichette could be. Like I said, he might be the guy that's left without a chair here. If the Yankees end up adding Bellinger, I think they move on from Bichette. I doubt they sign both players. Ethan, see why I said during an interview that Merrill Kelly signed before they thought they had, before they thought and they could have paid 2 for 40. So I found that interesting. Maybe willing to wait until January. I think they are waiting for prices to come down for some of these big players. I do think they're in the running for some of these big names. Are they willing to pay the piper? That remains to be seen. But as far as Merrill Kelly, I did hear that interview as well. He did think, or did see the article anyway about the interview with, no, that was actually, I remember watching that one. He had it on, there's a YouTube channel that actually had the live interview with that one. And they did expect Merrill Kelly to sign at some point this offseason, obviously, with another club. They expected they had more time and that they would at least have a chance to negotiate with Merrill Kelly. Not that there was anything bad in between the two teams. It just, he wanted to go back to Arizona. He did not want to be traded last year. Arizona was wise to go ahead and recoup some value out of him, and they ultimately get the player back on his own accord. So, good deal all the way around from the D-Backs side of things. The Rangers took a shot at trying to make the postseason. Obviously, it failed. They tried to retain him. I think they would have been able to keep him for that money, 2 for 40, if the Diamondbacks just said, we'd rather go a little bit younger in our rotation. Go ahead and keep it moving there, Merrill. But we're ready to turn the page. But he ultimately decides to go back to Arizona, and they say yes. Do I think Zach Gallen does that this year? I doubt it. I think his market is a little bit more robust out there. I think as far as the starting pitcher market goes, kind of the sequence of the players that kind of I'm looking at right now. Valdez is number 1. Imai would be 2, just because he hasn't proven it at the big league level. Suarez, to me, would be the number 3 option left on the free agency side of things. And then Gallen would be my number 4 as far as the starting pitchers that are out there. I may be missing one, but that'd be kind of the order I'd kind of go down that pecking order. To me, Michael King would kind of fit in that same range with Zach Gallen, a little bit under a range of Suarez because of the postseason performance that he has provided. But certainly still a good group of free agents out there. Not that teams are necessarily enamored with their options that they do have. You want Verlander 1 for 16? I mean, I would expect them, that would kind of be the high end of what I could see them doing. I think they're going to be more in the range of 1 for 10 at this point, unless they add one of these big names that we're just not expecting to go to Texas. All right, let's try to run through a couple of the other signings that we've seen. The Angels agreed to a 1-year, $5 million deal with Kirby Yates. He'll be reunited with pitching coach Mac Maddox, where he had his career year in Texas a year and a half ago anyway, before he signed with the Dodgers last offseason. Obviously, it was a great year in Texas. That's why he was able to get that big deal from the Los Angeles Dodgers and get a World Series ring. Did not pitch well last year, and hopefully he can rekindle the abilities that he had in Texas 2 years ago. Let's see here. Other names that we saw signed. The Cubs add Hunter Harvey on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Surprised that he gets that number based off of his availability the last 2 seasons. Only pitched in 12 games, roughly 10.2 innings, I believe, last year. And then he was pretty much injured the majority of 24 as well. Pitched a little bit more innings, but not by a whole lot. And just surprised that he gets a $6 million deal where Kirby Yates only gets 5. But, we'll see what happens with Kirby Yates. He may be a deadline acquisition for some team out there as well. One other item I really wanted to get into and kind of spend some time on is the Diamondbacks and their posturing around Ketel Marte. Are they going to trade him? Are they not going to trade him? I think the price that they set was high, as it should be, and I think there's a couple of teams that probably should have paid the price to bring him in. I think there's a couple of reasonable trades that could have been done from some of his suitors. That has yet to happen. Doesn't mean it can't, but I think that was a real opportunity that some of these contending teams really missed on. As far as the player, can be an aircraft carrier in the middle of your lineup. For the Diamondbacks, they were said to be targeting 2 controllable starting pitchers, guys that already had major league experience or close to it with plenty of time left on their deals, lots of club control. I think they got a couple of offers. I don't think it was anywhere near their liking. They wanted guys that would be an impactful player for them because, after all, he's on a ridiculously affordable deal, which is gold in today's Major League Baseball. But as far as some of the other news and notes I wanted to get into as well, Rendon, the buyout is finally done with the Los Angeles Angels. Eflin agreed to a 1-year, $10 million deal to go back to the Orioles. Does not rule them out on Imai as well. Remember, they just spent a little bit of money bringing in Pete Alonso. Now they added Eflin. They made the trade for Baz. They're certainly trying to load up here a little bit. And that's why I said don't take them out of Imai's talks, because I do think they have a little bit more money than what we've been led to believe in recent memory. Maybe this is what they've been waiting for. Take advantage of a soft market in a year before the CBA negotiations. Maybe that's what they were waiting for. Biding their time, making the trade for Corbin Burns, letting him walk, and on and on. But maybe this is what it was for them to take advantage of a softer market as well. Other news and notes. We talked about the Red Sox, the Giolito thing. We talked about the need for a lefty as well. In-person interviews for Okamoto and Imai, mentioned those as well. Talked about Imai being an ace. Happy birthday to Sandy Koufax, who turned 90 today. Reds were mentioned as a team looking for outfield help. Welcome to the club. Almost every other team in Major League Baseball is also looking for outfield help, with probably the exception of the Boston Red Sox. They have a great outfield group there, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple of others as well. Let's see here. A couple of things that I haven't seen over the last few weeks anyway is lots of movement anyway from some of the bigger clubs that we've been waiting for these deals from. Teams like the Yankees, teams like the Rangers, teams like the Cubs, teams like the Padres, who've had their hands in all kinds of different pies, but ultimately haven't really done anything on the trade front, at least, that we've really been waiting for from the San Diego Padres. The other clubs, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Rangers, free agency was expected to be a little bit more active for these clubs, and a little bit surprised we haven't seen anything as of yet, even on the lower end market. We've seen a couple of guys come off the board, sure. Top end guys are going to take their time, but not in that range for the 2 for 40 type player for these types of teams. So we'll see which players these guys ultimately get. Let's see here. We saw the Marlins make a trade, bringing in Esteury Ruiz from the Los Angeles Dodgers for a Dominican Summer League player going back the other way. Watch him turn into the next Jordan Alvarez. But aside from that, what a downturn it's been for Esteury Ruiz. Remember, he was part of the big return that was supposed to be part of the reason why the Contreras deal got done to the Milwaukee Brewers a couple years back anyway. Was thought to be the next great thing where teams were really overvaluing speed as a commodity when you don't have the ability to hit consistently, can't hit contact, can't hit it to the outfield, let alone hit for any power. And while he has a lot of base stealing and while he has a lot of speed out there, he's basically Billy Hamilton, where you can't really play him in the field until you're in the late innings, need that speed out there in the outfield. And, is he a premium glove out there? Does he have enough of an arm? Those questions come into play. But what a downturn he has certainly experienced. The Marlins needed to add offense. Not saying he brings a lot, but he certainly adds the element of speed, and that will hopefully help them at least on the base paths, driving some more run scoring. But what a downturn it has been. Mariners, they are looking to make an addition via trade, not through free agency. Remember, they've been the team that's been connected to Brendan Donovan probably the most this offseason. I think they're probably the team, if I had to pick one right now off the top of my head where he ultimately goes, I would lean towards the Seattle Mariners, because they could utilize him pretty much all over the diamond. And they still want to use their young kid. I want to say it's Colt Young. I might be wrong on the name. I can't remember the kid's name, but I see his face. The young kid who played second base last year for the Mariners. I think they want to keep him up at the big league level. And remember, they have all kinds of prospects that would be of interest in any trade situation. So do not be surprised to see Trader Jerry, no, not Jerry Jones, Trader Jerry DePoto, make some more moves as well. One last note anyway is that Andrew Heaney and Joe Kelly have both retired. Great careers for both men, obviously remembered for very different reasons. Andrew Heaney will always be remembered to me for two things. One, the World Series run that he had with the Texas Rangers, how he was the guy the Rangers trusted because of his stuff. Wasn't necessarily giving them 7 innings out of in that rotation or anything like that. Was certainly highly valuable in the postseason, and especially in that World Series. He was the one who started that pivotal Game 4, that if the Diamondbacks won that one, you go back to Arizona tied 2-2, and who knows what happens in the series thereafter. But what a start by Andrew Heaney. He'll always be remembered for that. And two, obviously the Tyler Skaggs stuff, and he was basically the spokesman at the team since he was the closest friend on the team to him. What a career he's had. Ups and downs, good performance, bad. I thought he was going to probably pitch for another year or two. I think he still has enough in him to where he could probably score another $10 million in salary. Say he gets another $6 million contract this year, another $4 million next year. I think he could easily have done that, but it sounds like he just wanted to hang him up at 34 years old. And Joe Kelly, great bullpen arm, seen as a little bit more of a, not head case is the wrong word, but more of a demonstrative player, more expressive player than we've seen out of the bullpen in recent years, and that vibrance, that energy out of that bullpen spot will be missed in Major League Baseball. So we'll see what happens as well with kind of the next phase of these players. The guys. Once you get into your 30s, how long do these guys really hang around for? I think Joe Kelly stuck around for a little bit here. Andrew Heaney decides to hang it up at 34. Do we see do we see a John Gray ultimately decide to hang him up as well? Would not be surprised to see that as well. Let's see here. Been a long time. How you doing, brother? What are the Chicago Cubs waiting on? Welcome in, Bears. Appreciate you joining us this evening. What are the Cubs waiting on? Well, Imai is the decision right now. Remember, that deal has got to get done 4 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. my time. Anyway, for him to be done, signed, sealed, delivered on Friday. Okamoto is on Sunday, so again, expect the markets to move on those players. So that's really what the Cubs are waiting for. I think that's also what the Yankees are waiting for, and then they'll pivot to their next option thereafter, whether it be Suarez or Gallen or trade or Cabrera, something along those lines. But Imai, I expect to be the next big guy to come off the board as well. MLB rumor said Verlander is getting a 1 for 22. I don't see that happening at all. I think he's probably looking for, at best, a $15 to $16 million deal. I don't think he gets anywhere above that. But I think he's probably going to have to settle for a little bit less than even what he might be comfortable with, say in the $13 to $14 million range. Not that that's chump change, but it's certainly less than what he was getting just a couple of years ago when he signed that massive deal and ended up with the Mets, traded back to the Astros. We saw how all that worked out. The longer a rise is chilling, the better for Texas and Skip's wish list. True, I'll agree with you there. Nobody really knows what his price is going to be going into this offseason anyway. So whatever they're able to get him at, or whatever presentable offer they can give, they could very well end up signing the player as well. All right, wanted to get into a little bit of NBA talk as well, the Anthony Davis trade rumors. I know you guys have been mentioning that in the chat already. Anthony Davis, obviously one of the greatest players in the NBA right now when healthy, but the biggest caveat in the world is the when healthy part. Has missed more than half his game since being traded to the Mavericks in that Luka Doncic trade. But you can't really measure any return that you get for Anthony Davis against Luka. It's just not going to happen. Now, as far as the teams that are in on him, several that have been mentioned, but the realistic ones to me, the Hawks make a lot of sense. The Raptors to a lesser extent. Keep seeing people trying to name the Warriors as another great fit. That would probably have to be a 3-team deal where they probably send Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green to another club, along with Jonathan Kuminga. I doubt we see teams like the Detroit Pistons, the Charlotte Hornets, the the Chicago Bulls being teams that ultimately lands Anthony Davis. Now, when he's on the floor, he's certainly impactful. He can be a 30-point guy with 20 rebounds and 4 blocks. It's just a matter of, can he stay on the floor? That's the biggest problem. You look at a team that might be desperate to win this year. To me, that screams the Atlanta Hawks. I think they're going to try to move Trae Young and see if they can get a little bit better player, at least a more defensively capable player at that spot who can still initiate the offense for Trae Young, or see if they can add some wing depth if they do end up trading away Ricochet. They're going to have to rebuild a little bit of that with the Trae Young deal. But I think Trae Young, Anthony Davis, shipping out Trae Young and adding Anthony Davis really raises the ceiling for that Atlanta Hawks team, and I could really see them making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe even the NBA Finals. Now, do I see them beating the Thunder? Hell no. And with Jokic's injury on the Western Conference side, I think that pretty much seals things up there for the Oklahoma City Thunder getting the 1 seed and probably making it to the NBA Finals as well. Would I trade Anthony Davis for Trae Young? Hell no. The only thing I'm trading for with the Atlanta Hawks, I'm taking whatever expirings there are. So I'd take Porzingis and Kennard. Porzingis probably doesn't even play 1 game for the Mavericks. Kennard, I would expect him to probably be dealt to another club as well because he's a shooter. Teams are going to need shooting at the deadline. But and then of course the picks. What are they going to get back? Do they bring in Ricochet? Those kinds of things. 80 to Chicago for Vooch, Kobe, and I don't like that package either. I like Kobe White, but I think this is about as good a version of Kobe White as you're going to get. And I've got Kyrie coming back, and by the time Kyrie's contract is over, I could have easily drafted another guy or signed somebody in free agency with the money I'm saving on Anthony Davis. I don't need Kobe White. I like the player. I probably would have done that trade a couple of years ago if you asked me. But right now, hell no. Anthony Davis is a better player than what that package is. All right. And last thing I wanted to get into was kind of the NBA and NFL tanking issues. To me, the NBA really did a great job with the lottery as far as what they've done so far. They're trying to do even further adjustments to it. To me, you don't really need to do that. There are always going to be teams that try to tank, one or two teams that are really obvious about it. But I think teams in general um, aren't necessarily motivated to tank this year. You look at the Clippers; don't even own their draft pick. The Hawks are motivated to try to win as well. They're not in the lottery anyway, but they're a team that if they continue to lose, could be. You look at the Pelicans; they don't own their pick. They're trying to win. So I think they've done a nice job of at least redistributing some of the lottery odds. You saw the 1.8% chance for the Mavericks to win last year. They obviously got it done. You look at the top teams right now, you only get a 14.2% chance of getting the top pick if you're one of the first four teams or one of the bottom four teams. So something that certainly does help improve your odds of getting the one pick, by no means guarantees it. So, how much is it worth you obviously tanking and ruining it for your fan base, losing ticket sales because of it, to just have a 1% better chance at getting the number one pick? Obviously, it's a valuable commodity, but I think there's other things to shoot for as well. You like the Bleacher Report five-team deal? Mavericks get Sabonis, Ricochet, and picks. I did see a deal where Slightly Biased, I believe, was the one who was posting a six-team trade where Sabonis ended up in Portland, where his dad played, where Arvydas Sabonis played. I think that would be very poetic for the back half of Sabonis' career and give them a really good, Klingon at the five, Sabonis at the four, and then a really good mix of young wings and guards, along with Dame coming back and Drew Holiday. Jackson Dart said, to the tank, absolutely. As far as Dart goes, he certainly looks like a competitive player. Do I think he's a good enough player to at least stave off them adding a starting quarterback in the draft? I think he is. I think they give him another year and see what they've got with the new coach when they do bring him in. Locksmart, Detroit got number 5 when they were the worst 2 years ago. We saw a bunch of teams really drop out of that top 4 that were supposed to be in that top 4 because of the new lottery odds. So I think the NBA's done a great job as far as trying to do as much as they can to curtail tanking, but you're always going to have those teams. The Mavericks did a little bit of selective playing of players when they tried to retain their pick and avoid having it go to New York. And that's why they were able to bring in Derek Lively in that deal. Get off some money in a couple of other deals as well. So there are lots of other goals for teams to try to achieve. The in-season tournament was another initiative to try to force teams to try to compete earlier in the season, kind of show what they've got a little bit more, give those teams at the bottom of the standings a chance to have some glory. But tanking, I think, has been a nice improvement as far as where it was, say, 10 years ago. Demon, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us once again. Joseph, the Knicks need a wing. Who do you trade for? Knicks don't really have many options. They're kind of stuck financially with what they've got right now. As far as a wing, I think they're going to try to go the buyout market, but again, with the apron rules, I think their best case scenario for the Knicks is just continue to keep this team growing together. I don't think they'll be one of the teams that makes a big trade. There are some pundits out there who say that this is not going to be a very active trade market as well. Ethan, I'd say Anthony Davis traded in the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. I think if Anthony Davis gets traded, the rumors lately from Patrick Dumont and the Mavericks organization is they want to see Kyrie, AD, and Cooper Flag on the field or on the court together for a couple of games at least. Now, is 5 games going to be enough? 10? I don't think he's going to get that kind of time. But Kyrie, say he comes back here in a couple of weeks here. Then you'd have a couple of weeks to really evaluate before the trade deadline. Maybe get another 5-6 games with both of those players on the floor. AD's current injury looks like it's going to keep him out for just a couple of games here. But we said that last year about his abductor strain, and that's what he's got right now. This one appears to be far less severe. That is what the Mavericks are coining it as. But I'll believe it when I see it. This is over. I think Anthony Davis is over 190 times he's appeared on injury reports in his career. The most in NBA history since it's at least been tracked by, I forget his name on Twitter anyway. Stutterer, that's his name. He has LeBron over 200 instances. This season alone, Anthony Davis has been on that injured list, and over the last couple of years anyway, well, I should say since the bubble, really, Anthony Davis just continues to have injury issue after injury issue. It's just who he is at this point. And that's why he's a diminished value. That's why the Mavericks shouldn't have done the trade to begin with. But here we are. Now's the time to try to build around Cooper Flag in whatever way might be possible. AD won't play when we bring Irving back. He will. He's going to want to boost up his numbers. He's going to want to try to show that he's eligible, or he can really be worth an extension, that's what he's going to try to do. He's been a consummate pro since he's come to Dallas. Don't really hate the player at all. Does it suck that he's injured all the time? Absolutely. Is his body failing him to a certain extent? Sure. Do I blame him for that? No, I don't. It's not his fault that he gets these issues. To me, it's just kind of the issues of being a bigger guy. You have some of the foot issues. You have some of the strained muscle issues. When you're rehabbing one injury, sometimes you overcompensate with another. And he just had a lot of bad luck in his career, and he is more of an injury-prone player, I would say, in the NBA. Now, do I blame Anthony Davis for it? Again, I just don't. He's not the one who made the trade for Luka. He's not the one who came over here and he's not the one who chose to sit out because he just didn't want to play for the team. He's actually injured. So, does it suck for him? Sure. Am I blaming him? No. When he leaves the Mavericks anyway in a trade sometime, either at the deadline or in the off season, when he does get traded, is it going to be sad to see him go? To a certain extent, the long-term future obviously will be better for the Mavericks. But as far as the finances, that obviously would be much better without him being here, and that's why you need to continue to build around Cooper Flagg. All right, appreciate you guys joining us this evening. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a very long video today. We will have a change in our format coming. I'm kind of redesigning kind of a graphic here. I'm redesigning kind of the video format that we're going to have going. I do like talking a little bit about the other major sports as well. We are still going to focus primarily on the MLB and the Hot Stove. We will still have our MLB Hot Stove Daily. That might change the name a little bit. Might change it to a couple of times a week. But we are going to get into a little bit more content with the NFL draft coming in the next few months. We're going to get into some draft coverage. We're going to get into some NFL playoffs. We're going to talk some NHL a little bit. And then we'll talk a lot of basketball over the next month as well. But kind of redesigning a little bit of stuff that we're going to be doing here at the Upside. So be sure to hit that like, subscribe, stay tuned to everything that may be coming. As far as where to find us here on YouTube, obviously you can hit your notifications, turn them on, and then find us on Facebook, Upside Sports Network as well. Thank you, Heel. Appreciate you joining us once again. Thank you, my friend. All right, gonna go ahead and check on the missus here. Had a good weekend with the lady, and looking forward to having a nice New Year's celebration with her. Gonna go over to the folks again, have some fun there, and just have a good time over the next couple of days. We will be doing a couple of lives over the next couple of days, a lot earlier than we have been. We'll try to do one probably in the mid-afternoon tomorrow. Not sure what time specifically. Like I said, I'm gonna be redesigning a lot of the graphics, adding some sound effects, those kinds of things to kind of add a little bit more to this channel, and try to make it a little bit more viewer-friendly is a good way to put it. Try to interact with the chat as much as I can right now. I will still try to be doing that as well, but we're going to have a little bit more structure in our new videos that we're going to have coming, and we're also going to have a little bit more fun along the way. Meaning we're going to kind of have a topic and just kind of let the topic dictate where we go. Kind of like what we do now, but with a little bit more information coming your way so you guys get the most accurate information that we can possibly get to you guys. But again, hit that like, subscribe, find us on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. We'll be live again tomorrow afternoon. We will also do a live in the evening as well, so you get 2 lives tomorrow. And then, of course, New Year's Eve. Everybody go out there, have fun, stay safe, have fun with your friends, family. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stay safe out there, everybody. Happy New Year.